Hey, good morning. I'm Russ Hockenberry, Zone 3 Digital Innovation Leader, and welcome to jcpsdigitallearning.com for our day of NTI 2.0 core tools. All right, we've got a full schedule today for you, and I'll show you that schedule right now. You have been in school time to this morning till 11 a.m. And our first session today deals with Google Classroom for instructional design. So that's myself and Zone 1 Digital Innovation Leader, Jack Bosley, followed by our 11:30 session with Kyle Chandler and Jim Unger, where they talk about Google Meet for synchronous learning. And so synchronous, Kyle, are you on here?
Go ahead,
Can you tell us what synchronous learning means?
Yeah, so synchronous learning is what's going to be happening live. Like right now, Russ and I am going to be learning synchronous with Russ on how to use Demo Classroom, and I'll be an active learner in this session. So versus asynchronous, which might be more of a scenario where something gets posted and you walk away, and then at a later time, someone else might be able to get to it. And email, for example, is an example of asynchronous.
Right, and so we've got a great session after lunch, Screencastify for asynchronous learning with Daniel Washburn and Stephen Durham. Then we've got a 1 o'clock session on Jamboard. Jamboard was the takeaway tool, the MVP of our spring NTI in JCPS. And Elaine Abernatha and Matt Bolker, they're going to talk about Jamboard with you with an interactive whiteboard. And then we've got a read and write literacy toolbar session. So we are good. The people are saying they can hear us. Awesome. So we've got read and write for you at 1:30, so that's an hour long on that. All right, that's a long one. All right, perfect. Then we've got our NTI 2.0 portal with Heather Worrell at 2:30, and then we wrap up the day with another using Jamboard for instruction with Sarah Brock, who is a rock star kindergarten teacher at St. Matthews Elementary, and Katie Wolf from Klondike Lane Elementary. She's a resource teacher there. They're going to talk about using Jamboard for instruction. Very interesting perspective from those two. Sarah actually taught at Klondike Lane Elementary too. Tell you what, Klondike Lane Elementary, it's like a superstar origin story place. Lots of superstars from Klondike Lane Elementary. And then Breakout Rooms and Google Meet with our newest digital innovation leader, also from Klondike Lane Elementary, but now with the district, Rebecca Reynolds. So
yep, and my partner.
And yep, Jack's partner, exactly. So perfect day today with Google Classroom leading us off at 11 o'clock. And those are NTI 2.0 core tools. And just to remind you, you may have already heard this from your principals, those core tools are Google Classroom, Google Meet, Screencastify, Jamboard, and then read and write. And then, am I leaving anything out there, Jack?
I was just going to tell everybody, I can't think of anything that you've left out. I'm sure Jamboard you mentioned, I was going to have you mention the big news with Screencastify.
Oh, yeah, Screencastify. Every teacher gets a license to Screencastify. That's pretty awesome. So no more 5-minute limits, right, Kyle?
I'll play the role of Kyle.
That's Kyle. Right, you play Kyle. Go for it. So no more 5-minute limits, right, Kyle?
Yeah.
Right, Jack?
That's correct. Yeah, that's awesome. So it's going to be a game changer for people, not have to be, have to worry about that. So it's fantastic that we got that through right before kids get back, and awesome addition to the core tools there.
Exactly. All right. So you and I, we are kicking this thing off here with Google Classroom, the kind of the OG technology tool of the group, right? So
That's right.
We're going to kick this off, Google Classroom. Let's get right into it. And so Google Classroom is, again, it's been around for a long time. When we talk about teaching, online teaching, and teaching in this digital world, there are some standards that we want to look at, right, Jack?
Yeah, so those are, I think you're going to show those, Russ, right now with the new online learning standards.
Yeah, so they're national standards for quality online teaching, right? And so there are a bunch of different standards here on the nsqol.org website. And so we particularly are going to be looking at this standard, Standard B, Digital Pedagogy. And with our Google Classroom, the truth of the matter is Google Classroom is such a broad and versatile tool. It could hit every one of these standards. But so specifically today, though, we're going to focus on this B1. The online teacher uses digital pedagogical tools that support communication, productivity, collaboration, analysis, presentation, research, content delivery, and interaction. And if you're familiar with Google Classroom at all, you know it hits every one of those, right?
Yeah, I mean, the issue with us was trying to narrow down what standards Google Classroom doesn't touch and from the national standards for quality. So it hits a lot of them, but this seemed to be the one that struck home the best.
Exactly. And just scrolling through here, you can see that, how it would hit every one of them. But all right, so let's get started today, and we are going to start by going to Google Classroom. And so if you are on Google, the first place you want to go with Google Classroom when you open up your Chrome browser is your waffle, right? And so you go to your waffle, and you've got the Classroom icon there. Classroom icon looks like that old school chalkboard. So Jack, why do you think they have that old school chalkboard in there? Such a new world tool.
I'm not sure, Russ. What's your thoughts on it?
I don't know. I put Jack on the spot there. I just think it's a nod to the classic teaching style. So yeah, that's just my theory. So I'm going to click on my Classroom icon there. And so if I click on that Classroom icon, it's going to take me to my Google Classroom landing page. And there is my Google Classroom landing page. In this Classroom landing page, under this account, I only have one classroom. The Jack Bosley demo class. Now, you may have several classrooms on your landing page, and you can move those back and forth by clicking on the three dots. I do not have that option because, again, I only have one classroom. But for this training presentation we're going to do today, we are going to use this Jack Bosley demo class. So for this Jack Bosley demo class, I'm going to click on my title here. See how it shows I've only got 3 students in here. That's kind of a helpful little thing too, to see, okay, well, which class is this? Well, this is a class with 3 students, or this is a class with 26 students, or this is a class with 32 students. I'm going to click on my Jack Bosley demo class. It's going to take me into my classroom, and then it's going to pop up. If you haven't been in Google Classroom for a while, it's going to pop up with these helpful tips like move post to the top. Click this menu and move any post to the top of the stream. And so what we're going to do in this training today is we're going to go over the 4 parts of Google Classroom: stream, classwork, people, and grades, right? And so the stream, yeah. So Jack, what do you want to just talk about what the stream is?
So the stream, I always describe it as like a Facebook kind of interface where everything that you post lands right there on the main page. And I always joked around that they call it the stream because it's literally just a stream of information. And anything that you post, whether it's an announcement or an assignment or question or whatever, that automatically gets moved to the top. And from there, it just, whatever new thing that you post, always at the top. And it's a constant stream of information.
Right. And so it's kind of like your Facebook feed or your Twitter feed, but the Google Classroom version of that. So you could, if I was going to click in here and share something with my class, I can click there and I can just type and I could say, good morning, class. We start back school on August 25th. All right. And then I can just post that to my classroom. Now, if I want to schedule that, I can just click on this little down arrow, and it'll let me schedule that. So I could actually schedule that to go out 3 days from now or on August 25th, right? But let's just say I wanted to post it now. I can do that. Or, you know what I can do too? I can click on this and I can say, I only want Jackson Bosley to get this. Jack's son, right? Maybe I have different messages for different kids. So that's just one quick way of how Google Classroom differentiates. You've got the ability to blast to the whole class, or you can differentiate and you can send it to individual people. And you can have different messages, what's that word? Curated for individual students, right? But I'm going to choose all students. Good morning, class. We start back on August 25th. And then they also have the option down here to add something. So if I had like a newsletter in my Google Drive, I could just link that. If I clicked up, I could click that Google Drive, and I could just find a newsletter or some kind of document I'd want to link in there to my announcement in the stream. But I don't. Oh, I don't. So I'm not going to. But I'm going to X out of that. Or if I had a link, so let's say I wanted to send people to, I wanted to send my kids to and their parents to the JCPS NTI page, I could do that. jcps.me/NTI. I could just type that in there. All right. And then after that link goes in there, I can just hit post. So when I hit post, there it is. And so what happens there is it gets posted to the student stream, and they see that pop up in their classroom. And you also get a notification, right, Jack?
The teacher gets a notification.
Does the kid get it? Yes.
I think the student gets a notification, but you also, the student on the student side at the top, it'll say the stream is up there by the banner. It'll say the stream has been updated. And if the student clicks on that, then it'll refresh and they'll see that. But probably a good classroom practice is to have kids, talk to them about hitting the refresh button on their browser just in case, to stay up to date all the time.
Right, exactly. All right, and so the next part we're going to show you is the Classwork section of Google Classroom. So this is where if I want to give an assignment to my class, I click on the Classwork section, Classwork tab, and then I have options here to create my assignment. So I can hit the plus. So it's very intuitive. The plus means add or create. And so we're going to click that, and we're going to choose. You've got options here. You can do a question, material. You can add material. So this is where you would add if you had like a syllabus for your class. You could put that there. But we just want to create a straight assignment. And so if I want to create this straight assignment, again, so intuitive, Google Classroom. It's going to give you these little tips. And if you already know this stuff, you can just hit got it. So I'm going to create an assignment. My title is going to be Brain Pop Junior School. All right. And so in the instructions, I'm going to type out 1, watch the Brain Pop Junior video on school. And then 2, I'm going to type complete the write about it doc. And you're like, what is he talking about? Like, do kids have to go to Brain Pop Junior? What's the write about it doc? Well, you're going to see the intuitiveness of Google Classroom here in just a second. So 1, for the magic of television, I've already got my School Brain Pop Junior tab open here. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my page here with the Brain Pop Junior school video on it. I click on my link in the top, in the Omnibar. So I'll just copy that link, and I'm going to go into my add section. So down here at the bottom, I'm going to go add link, and I'm going to paste, Control V, and I'm going to hit add link. And so there's my first part there. 1, watch the Brain Pop Junior video on school. All right. So now the second part of this is complete the write about it doc. So I don't have a doc created right now, but look, I can create a doc. So I can create a template for my entire class. So I hit create. I'm going to create a doc. Notice you've got options here, which is really nice. Create a doc. When I create a doc, it's going to take me into a blank document. And I'm just going to call. So I'll just say, how do people help out at school? So they might think about the principal. How does the principal help out? How does the school nurse help out? How does the lunch lady help out? That kind of stuff. Explain.
Yeah, that whole create feature, I think it's been there for a little while, but it's still so nice to have that where you can do that on the fly versus having to go in and search your drive and try to find your document. So
exactly. And so I've created that doc, that write about it doc. And so now if I go back a tab, it's going to have my doc in there. Even though it says untitled, it's titled doc now. It's just a matter if I would when I assign it, it's going to say write about it then here. It's not going to say entitled. So I've got my 2 parts there, my Brain Pop Junior video, school. I've got my doc, Down here is a really important part, though. It says students can view file. If I leave it like this, Jack, what's the problem?
So if you leave it where students can view file, they can't actually type on that. They can only see it, but not edit it.
And that's where you get all those requests from kids saying, asking for access and that kind of stuff.
That's right.
If the next option down is students can edit file. So what does that mean if I say students can edit file?
So when students edit the file, that means that if you have 30 students in your class, all 30 of those kids are going to be on one document.
Which can be chaotic, but sometimes that works. Sometimes you want that. It just depends.
It's a great option for collaboration, and Russ and I can talk to you about that on a different show about all the wonderful things that you can do with that option. But by and large, I think you're going to need that last one.
Yeah, make a copy for each student. So if I've got 25 students in this class, it's going to make 25 different copies of this document, and it's going to send it out to all those students, and they can each have their own copy, and they can't mess each other's up, right? So make a copy for each student is probably the option you're going to choose most of the time, right? Now, over here, I've got options as well. So again, here comes that differentiation again with Google Classroom. I can blast this assignment out to the entire class, or I can just say, I just want Sarah Reed to get this assignment, right? And maybe I have different assignments for Sade Graves and Jackson Bosley, right?
That's right.
So great differentiation, again, available for you in Google Classroom, but I want all students to get this. I have an option here with grades, with point levels. So I can make this 100 points, I can make it 10 points, I can make it 5 points, or I can make it ungraded, all right? I have those options. All right. I can make it due a certain date and time. So I could say this is due on Friday. All right. And I can do the time optional. Sure. 11:59 p.m. sounds great. So we'll just leave it like that. And then I also, if I've created topics in my classroom, like some teachers who teach multiple subjects, they might create like an ELA topic. So all of their ELA assignments fall under that. Or if you teach units, so like maybe you have a school unit or an explorers unit or a plants unit, and you have all of these different assignments under these different units, you can create a topic, and so all of those assignments will fall under that topic. But then sometimes you don't have a topic. You just create no topic, and you go from there, right?
Yeah, I mean, the topics are really important for me because when you start to, you're going to be posting things all the time. So having those topics help keep you organized and the student organized. So highly encourage you to choose and make one.
Right, exactly. It's kind of like the junk drawer. Like, you don't want it to look like that junk drawer, right? You want to have some organization. And then this at the bottom is a relatively new feature. You can add a rubric. So if you've got a grading rubric you want to add on there for your students to see, you can put that rubric in there, which is really nice. And then this part down here is particularly useful for middle school and high school teachers and maybe elementary. Check for plagiarism. So if you check that box and you assign an essay on Thomas Jefferson, and the kids turn in a Wikipedia entry on Thomas Jefferson, it'll say this has been plagiarized, right? So that's nice to have that there, okay? So keep that in mind, that check for plagiarism button. But we're not going to check that for this. Everything looks good to go here. I'm going to hit assign. And you notice, again, I have the option to schedule this. I don't want to do that, though. I just want to hit assign. All right, it's going to assign this. Okay, and so it assigned it, and so if I go back to my stream, I can see, look, on the teacher side it says, JCPS Digital Learning Post Channel, that's me, is posting a new assignment, Brain Pop Junior School. So if I click on it, it takes me to this page, and it shows that all 3 of my students here have got the assignment, right? So I can check in on those students. If they're doing it in live time, let's say Sade was working on this in live time, I could click on that document and I could actually watch Sade work in real time. So that's kind of a neat little Big Brother feature for you for Google Classroom. And man, all these different tips are helpful, right, Jack?
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of stuff in there. I mean, the possibility of checking in on your kids live is fantastic. The feedback features in here to do commenting on there. It's the catch-all. And with NTI, this is your go-to tool.
Yep. And so like Jack mentioned, you can actually leave private comments for people too. So like if I was watching Sade get to work on this, and let's pretend Sade was doing it, I might say something like, great start, keep going. If I was doing this in real life, I would be a lot more specific. But this generic feedback for now will suffice. Post. And so then Sade gets that little feedback there, and so gets that little bit of encouragement to that, hey, somebody is watching here. It's just kind of like being in a real school where you can kind of have that interaction with your kids, right? So that is the classwork section of Google Classroom. I'm going to go back to my main page here. And so, Jack, do you want to talk about people?
Yeah, I can, Russ. I just, I'm looking at you because of the way we have to run this. I'm looking at like the digital learning channels. So there's a little bit of delay between what I see and what we need to talk about. But under the people section, as the YouTube catches up, there are really two big areas that you need to think about as a teacher. One at the top where it says teachers shows you who all has teacher access to your classroom. And right here at the top, to the right of where it says teachers, there's the little generic person icon with the plus button. If you click on that, that's how you can add a co-teacher into your classroom. So if you have a teaching assistant, maybe a ESL person, ECE person that you need to get access to this classroom, you click on that and you have the option to invite them via email.
Yeah, and so give me a situation where you might invite a co-teacher, Jack.
Well, like a ECE, like if you're, have an ECE teacher that you co-teach with every day, that might be an example, or ESL. Maybe you're doing something special, like a collaboration between, when I was in the classroom as a history teacher, I worked really closely with my ELA teacher, and we did projects back and forth all the time. So we might create a class where we're joint teachers and co-teaching in that scenario. Exactly. So what happens is, as Russ just showed, he sent an invitation to Kathleen. Now Kathleen will have to check her email and accept that invitation. And as soon as she does that, then she is a teacher and has the same rights to post and make assignments and do everything Russ has been showing you.
Exactly. Excellent. So is there anything you would say about the student part, Jack?
Yeah, so as you scroll down, you can obviously see a list of students who are in there. And the great thing about, I don't know, when was it, Russ? 2 years ago that we started doing the Infinite Campus connection with Google Classroom. So you really don't have to add your students anymore because all that is synced up now. But what I do want to show you in this section is if you hit those three dots next to a student's name.
We call those the snowman.
Yeah, the snowman. So if you do click on the snowman, you can, sorry, I'm waiting for YouTube to catch up. Should be a area where you can invite the guardians. Is that what you're seeing, Russ? I don't know. Oh, well, not sure. Hold on, let me check, see what I'm missing. I don't know, Russ. That's strange because when I'm in that demo class, I see it right next to Sade's name.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I've got email student there.
No, I know what. No, you're in there. So I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Next to the student's name, it says invite guardians. That's where it is. Okay.
Okay.
So it's not under the snowman. It's literally right next to the student's name. And I don't know why this view is not right, but it's not. All you do is type in a parent's email address, and then the parents actually get a notification about what's been posted in the classroom. And the good news is that Russ and I are working on a video right now that's going to be dedicated to the families and guardians about all the different parts of Google Classroom that will be helpful to families. So just look for that on the digital learning channel soon. And it should be on there when you get on as a teacher. You'll see it. It's really clear right next to the student's name, invite guardians. So,
yeah. And so here's something really cool, Jack, too. So if I click on my individual student, so if I click on Sade Graves, I can see the work that's been assigned to Sade, and I can see really quick what assignments she's missing.
That's right.
So,
there's all kinds of stuff that Russ and I are, just because we only have 30 minutes, that we can't quite show you, but having those assignment due dates, there's a whole calendar feature that's built in to Google and connects in with students' Google Calendar, but that's a whole different, it's just something we can't get into today, but all that should be pre-populated on a student's Google Calendar.
So. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right, and so the last section we want to talk about is grade. Well, then we're going to talk about the settings after grades, but this last four-part section here is grades. And so one thing, what's the number one thing people have asked us for the last 3 or 4 years, however long we've been doing these trainings, Jack, about grades?
They're constantly asking if this is connected to Infinite Campus, because they want those grades to automatically feed over.
And finally, we can say that yes, we're going to be connected to Infinite. Google Classroom grades are going to be connected to Infinite Campus this year. So there's no more double record keeping going to be necessary, anything like that. So that's super exciting that Infinite Campus and Google Classroom are going to be synced. So perfect as far as grades go.
But just you need to give them the disclaimer right now that this is brand, finally getting that connection in piece is still new, and they're doing some testing. IT and our Infinite Campus, well, we're all IT. We're doing some testing on the back end to try to work out any possible kinks before we release that into the wild, I guess.
Right. But do get excited about that, because that is a huge win for everybody involved.
That's right.
So here's where you can check out grades. You can look back at assignments, and you can give grades to your students. If I wanted to view a submission, let's say Jackson actually submitted this, I could review a submission, and I could give him a grade, and then I could hit return, and so on, right?
For those of you who've been around a while, you know that Amy Mueller is our Infinite Campus guru, and I was talking to her yesterday, and I think the plan is for her to make some videos about how all this is going to work. So just stay tuned for that. Amy's working behind the scenes to make all this happen. So watch out for those videos. I'm sure they're going to be posted on the Digital Learning channel. So stay tuned.
Yes, exactly. And so now the last part we want to talk about in our 30 minutes here is we want to talk about our settings. And so we've got 2 places in Google Classroom that you can check out settings. The Cog Wheel, which is over by your waffle, and then the hamburger, which is over by the name of the class. All right, hamburger is the 3 lines. So go ahead and which one do you want to talk about first, Jack?
Why don't you go ahead and go left to right? So let's talk about the hamburger first.
So here's the hamburger, and we're going to go down to settings. It's kind of confusing because you've got a cog wheel over here too. So I've got a cog wheel settings here, and then here we are.
Hold on, Russ. I'm going to try to get there myself, so it's not a little bit of a lag there. So really the big thing under settings is, under the hamburger settings, is about notifications and how much you want Google Classroom to send you information about what's going on. At the very top, you see that kind of master switch that says receive email notification. And if you toggle that off, you're not going to receive any notifications about anything related to Google Classroom.
Yeah, you notice how when I toggled that off, everything went gray. I toggled that off and everything went gray. So when I turn it back on, then I get a lot more options, and I can just toggle individual things on and off, like comments on your post. I can turn that on and off. Comments that mention you. So basically, this is the thing you want to turn off and on. If you were like, man, I'm getting like 70 emails a day from Google Classroom, this is where you want to go to kind of adjust that and decide how many emails you want a day from Google Classroom. Right, Jack?
That's exactly it, Russ. And if you toggle that back on and scroll all the way down, so you've got comments and posts and grades, whatever you want, but all the way at the bottom of that list is the classrooms that you're actually a part of. So you can turn it on and off by classroom as well.
Right, and so we've only got one classroom on this particular account, but some people, you as the teacher, will have multiple classrooms, and so maybe you only want to get class notifications from certain classes. You can turn that on and off for individual classes, right? So
yep,
pretty useful.
So really under that hamburger, it's all about how much communication you want.
Right, lots of customization available there.
That's it.
So let's go back to our Google Classroom homepage there. And so now we're going to talk about the Cog Wheel over by your waffle, that version of settings.
Hey, Russ, before we get into that, well, actually, go ahead, and I'll show them after we get into the Cog Wheel.
All right.
I noticed something, maybe I just missed it during NTI 1.0. It may have been there, but it was new to me. So,
all right, so now we are in the Cog Wheel over by your waffle.
Yep.
We've got a different set of settings for this class. It's our class settings.
That's right. So under the Cog Wheel, the first part of that is class details. So this is where you can go to change the name of your class. How we're syncing with Infinite Campus. Sometimes the name of that class is not really student friendly.
Yep.
So you can go in there and make it a little bit easier for kids to read. You can add sections, but really if you scroll on down to the general area of these settings, that's really what I want to show you. So one of the key things under general is who can actually participate in the stream. So there's a little part right there. I think it defaults to only teachers can post or comment.
Correct.
You can click on the baby triangle there and decide if you want students to be able to post, or if you just want students to comment, or you don't want them to do either one of those things.
So yeah, and the reason why you'd want it, so like some teachers may have issues with kids saying "what's up" or "hi," just random stuff like that. And so that's how you eliminate that, is you just do only teachers can post or comment. But if you've got that digital citizenship in place, and you want to allow your kids to post and comment, then go for it.
Yeah, and something else, Russ, I'm not sure, we didn't check this under the account, but something that's missing from your view right now with how you're signed in is also Guardian summaries. Right. I'm not sure why it's missing there, but it is. There's a on-off switch for that so that you can keep your families informed. But really, while we have a little bit of time left, the big one is like back in April or sometime in April, Google decided to connect Meet and Google Classroom together. So now you can generate a Google Meet inside of your Google Classroom, and you can see your ability to turn on and off that feature so that you can video conference with your students. So If you have that toggled on, then a Meet link is auto-generated for you, and it shows up in the banner of your the heading of your Google Classroom on the main stream view. So Russ, go back there real quick, and I want to show everybody something with that.
Yeah, so I'm going to save out of here in the class settings. I'm going to get back to my main page, and yeah, there it is. There's the Meet link that Jack was just talking about, visible to students. So students would be able to see that link and click on that link and join a Meet.
Yeah, and if you notice, Russ, see the little bitty icon next to the actual URL? It's got the video camera.
Yeah, the camera. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so when you toggle that switch off, that icon changes, and it's got like a eyeball with like there's a no, whatever. I can't think of the right words.
All right, let me try that real quick. I'm just going to do it real quick and see.
Yep.
I'm going to toggle it off. So it's not visible to students. I'm going to hit save. And then so when I hit save, it's going to show me.
Refresh, Russ.
All right, here I go. It's thinking back. Oh, there it is. So there you see it's not visible to students now. So it's pretty cool that you got that little kind of reminder, okay, this is visible students or it's not visible students. So if you have people saying, I can't find the link, Mr. Bosley, you may want to check that on your side that you've actually turned on the link where it's visible for students, right?
Yeah. And on the student side of that, it either shows the URL, the link, or it does not. But for you, as on the teacher side, it shows that icon or the camera icon.
Right, exactly. And so that is all the time we have today for Google Classroom. Please reach out to myself or Jack Bosley if you need more help on this, or your zone leaders. You know, you Kathleen Receiver, Rebecca Reynolds, Matt Bolka, Elaine Abernathy. Reach out to those people for Google Classroom help. You know, we have got some great shows coming up today, and our next show is with Kyle Chandler and James Unger, and you guys are talking about what?
Oh my gosh, guys, the gym. What a couple of pros. These guys, they're in Google Classroom. They slide right over into Google Meet. It's like a well-oiled machine.
It's perfect. Amazing. I just don't know what they got going on.
Yeah, we're going to share with you guys about Google Meet for synchronous learning.
All right, perfect. And so it's 11:30, guys, so if you want to take it away, go for it.
Yeah, perfect. So, Jim, I'll share my screen first. Hey, everybody. I'm Kyle Chandler with the Digital Innovation Team. This is my partner, Jim Unger. Say hey, Jim.
Morning, all.
So I'll share my screen. We've got a little presentations and stuff to show you. And then we're really going to kind of go demo style like we had Jack and Russ do earlier. So, again, as we mentioned before, this is Google Meet for synchronous learning. Russ, does it look like you can see my slides all right?
I see them.
Well, can't turn on your microphone. Oh, all right. Anyway, I won't be on them long. So today we're going to discuss how to navigate to Google Meet.
Have you got your Google Classroom or your captions on, bud?
I can't. It's giving me an error right now.
Okay.
Telling me I can't turn on my microphone.
All
I'm not
right.
sure
Okay. All right.
We're going to begin and end a session in Google Meet, demo the educator controls, discuss grid view and layout option, which is new since last year, demo screen share options, which ta-da. See how to record a meet and learn where to find it, and then discuss the national standards for quality online teaching and using closed captioning, ironically enough. So let's talk about those standards real quick. So we decided that this fit best probably with standard C on the national standards for quality online teaching for community building, because as we learned a lot in NTI 1.0, there was a lot it was a lot different for our students and staff to be away from that sense of community. And so this is really a powerful way to help build that with online video sharing and chat features that are included with Meet. So we really wanted to focus in on that. We'll also talk about tips to keep your Google Meet sessions secure. That'll be a large part of this, and how to navigate it. And then there are some follow-up videos in the slideshow if you want more information. So with that said, I will direct you over to this. So if you visit meet.google.com, or in the waffle, you'll see it as an option. This is an alternative method to get to a Meet. You can, right here, you can type in really anything you want to, and it will be, you want to make it unique, however, because if I type in something that someone else has already typed, then it will cause kind of a conflict in that we will be in the same room unknowingly. So you want to make something specific to your content or to your name or your building, something like that, that the students can use. So when you generate a unique Meet link in Classroom, it's pretty, you're good. That's only going to be for you. But on here, you have the option to make one yourself. So for the purposes of this training, I created Meet NTI 2. So whenever I go to continue that, it will let me join here. And what we're going to do is we're going to join as a couple of different educators. At one point, Jim will join me as another educator. I will join as a student additionally to this. And then we will also join as an outside party and let you see what that looks like. We had a lot of questions last year on what if we want to have guest speakers or whatever. And these are some new features. So I am now joining the Meet NTI 2 link. And right here is where you could get any of the joining info if you wanted to share it out with a class, or again, if you had an approved guest speaker, something of that nature. There's Jim joining me now, and you could share that with him. You could add people manually, or you could simply, if they're within the Jefferson County domain, you could simply give them this name. In this case, it was Meetnti 2. It could be, Mr. Johnson's second period, more Mustangs. I don't know. Something unique, though, for your class. Because if multiple people create this kind of generic name here, when we jump in, we could mistakenly be in together, and we don't want that. So this is Jim and I now in the room. I'm going to also join as a student. If I drag this over, can you guys see the new screen? I'm going to join again. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, we see it.
Yeah, I see it. Yep.
Great. So this is me joining now as a student. And I have permission. This is my daughter. So we're going to join as her to see what the experience is for a student. Turn this over. Can you guys see the new screen? And give me just a second here. Join that. And I'll see how many tabs I'm allowed before I kill my computer.
So what's awesome about this, guys, too, is I think the breakout rooms are new, right, this year in Google Meet?
Yes, they have not launched yet, but Rebecca Reynolds has a session coming up very soon to discuss that very scenario. Which
later today at like 3:30. So
3:30 new features coming out there, Russ. Good job.
Yeah, another wonderful segue. All right, let me mute this side. Okay. All right,
Okay.
we'll join in at once.
Since we have a Hangout and a Meet open at the same time, you may want to mute one of the tabs, which is what I had to do. So I was getting a really big echo on my end, having two videos streaming at the same time.
Yes, I did the same. Are you guys still seeing me okay?
Yep.
All right, cool. So now that I am in here as a teacher, and there's a student in here as well. Let me minimize this window real quick. Okay, so I can see Jim as a teacher. I can see the student right there. Okay, I can see my lists off to the side. By default, they're kind of in that grid view. So as the teacher account through JCPS that joined the Meet first, it doesn't necessarily matter that I created it. It's just that I happened to be the first teacher in here. Okay, so if Jim had joined this room first, he would have these controls. But since I joined first, I will get the controls as a teacher. That is not applicable to students, and they cannot join the room until you have joined the room as an educator.
So that's an important question that I got just 2 days ago. Somebody asked, can a student start their own Meet?
The students do not have the ability to start their own Meet, no. So the teachers have to create and start the Meet before the students can join. And then we will show you how to clear the room out completely. Either the students leaving on their own, or you can remove the students. Hey, Don. Don joined us. There you go. Meet NTI 2, if you want to join. Hey, Don. And so you can remove participants, okay, as a teacher account, and then once you've removed all the participants, if they didn't leave on their own, then you can close the Meet down so that the students cannot rejoin. It'll basically tell you the room is closed, and as long as my computer holds up, I'll demo that for you.
And I think that's probably that's probably most of the questions I get, Kyle, is can I mute someone and can I kick them? And I know those features were kind of trickling in last year, but absolutely, as the teacher in the room, you have that ability.
Yes, right here. So if you guys see, when I clicked on my people and then used the drop down, I could see that it's grayed out right now because I've already muted myself on that account. But if this were me as a teacher looking at a student account, I could go down and hit the mic mute button. And it could be something as simple as the dog's barking in the background and the kids walked away or doesn't, whatever the case is. But you can go and you can mute the participant right from here. Now let's also say, go ahead, Jim.
Important note with that, even though I'm a teacher and I'm in there, I do not have that ability. So it's the first teacher into that room that got the controls. So even though Kyle was the first one in there, he has the controls. I do not. Even if he leaves, I still don't get that ability to boot or mute students.
Correct. Now, I think we decided, Jim, although I was the educator that joined first, you, as a teacher account, can also record right now. Can you just verify that you see that option for yourself again?
Absolutely. Let me look at that. To finally record, I'm going to have 3 little dots there at the bottom. And if you don't have the ability, your top box will say change layout, which is that new grid view they've added. But above that on mine, as a teacher, I have a record meeting button that I can push.
Okay. Now, when Jim records this meet, okay, which we'll talk about how, if it is necessary for you to record, how to do that safely. But in the spirit of how to record, you can click the record button from the 3 dots down here in the corner. And then when you click that, you will see it's going to ask you to ask for consent from the people in the video, and that'll give them a pop-up that says, hey, do you know you're being recorded? You'll see in the top right-hand corner, or left-hand, it's actually recording right now. So if Jim or I, either one, started to record, since I was the first teacher in the room, the recording would come to me, and it will go straight to my Google Drive. I stopped it now. See, it says it's being saved to Google Drive. Down there at the bottom. So since it told me that, I know we have unlimited storage, and it's going to be safe and secure because it's on our JCPS domain. Now, let me talk to you briefly about this.
Okay,
when we
real
talk about
quick.
recording. Go ahead, Jim.
So along with recording, what we found interesting was I can, as a teacher, get it to record, start the recording. But when it does that, it records it as Kyle and puts it in his Google Drive.
Correct.
So we had teachers that had said, well, I recorded the meet, but it didn't show up in my Google Drive. So once again, it's going to go to the first teacher that was in that meet.
Hey guys, can you go back and show that record just real quick? There was a little snafu on my part.
Yeah. So the 3 dots right down here in the bottom, right next to Present Now, where you could share your screen with your class, you can click the record button right around. Can you guys see that okay, Russ?
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you can see that record me, and when you do that, when you hit record, it'll give you a dialog box asking you to accept to notify folks that they're being recorded. And then up in the top left, you'll see that it's going to kind of give you like a recording booth symbol that'll go red. And then once you stop the recording, it will go back to the first teacher account, okay, that entered the meeting. It will go to their Google Drive, and you'll get an automated email that tells you where it is and how to access it. It's not instantaneous. Some of these can be pretty large, the file size, so it takes Drive a little bit to process them. So be patient. It might take as much as 24 hours sometimes. Usually it's a few hours, but I can say okay, and then it tells me it's saving it to my Google Drive right there. Something else I didn't want to go ahead.
What are the guidelines as far as safer? Oh, look at that! You were thinking.
Yes. I was trying to get us there, fellas.
You're there, man.
So this is very important. So we've showed you how to record, but with great power comes great responsibility, you see. And nothing is more important than the safety of our students and staff here at JCPS. So we want to make sure if you need to do that, here are the parameters in which you should use. So you can visit this doc. It'll be linked in our presentation, but it's tips to keep your Google Meet safe. And it talks about how to do that, what we've talked about using closed captioning. But right down here, some of these larger bullets that are highlighted, it says, we encourage teachers to record themselves by giving brief instructional lessons that can be posted in the Google Classroom. But if you need to record a Google Meet that includes students, it can be recorded and used for on-demand video support for instructional purposes only. Record Google Meet sessions should not be shared publicly outside of the Google Classroom. So that was last year, and they expanded upon it further this year for NTI 2.0 and said that the best practice is to record the teacher only. And I'll show you how to do that. You'll basically just pin yourself in the video so that you don't see any of the students. And if there have to be students in that video briefly, the video should remain only in the Google Classroom and not shared on other social media platform or with other students outside their class the teacher is recording. So let's look at that real fast. So right now, heaven help you, I've pinned myself, sorry guys. But if I were recording right now, this would be how I could keep myself up instead of that grid view. So I can record me giving instruction to a whole class right now. And then whenever I save this, if I need to share it with those who may have been unavailable to watch live later, all they're going to see is me. They're not going to see any of their counterparts or peers in the class. So this is the safest way, if you have to do this, is to pin yourself as the teacher, record it that way, and only share it within the Google Classroom. Do not share it outside of the domain. And again, that's for the safety of our students and staff.
So we don't want to post this to a YouTube channel or anything like that, right? We don't want to record ourselves.
Point, Russ. Even though you may log into YouTube with your JCPS ID, that doesn't mean it's part of the JCPS domain. Yeah, you can make a YouTube channel with your JCPS email, but you don't want to post anything on there because then that falls outside.
So Google Classroom only. One more question we had in the chat, guys, was, is there a mute all button?
You know, they still don't have a mute all button available. Again, they continue to, even since, last spring, they continue to pump out these updates. Rebecca's got a whole slew of them coming. I don't think that's part of what she's going to present, but, hopefully they're listening. That would be great. They don't right now, though. No, not to our knowledge.
Okay, thank you.
But you can also, so let's look now at how to, with this last little bit, let's say that, and again, these tips to keep your Google Meet safe, let me just one more time, just really drive that home. So this is linked in today's schedule, or if it's not yet, it will be soon. And right here, if you click this is actually a hyperlink that's going to take you straight to this tips doc, okay? So there's a lot of good stuff in here, but also if you're having questions about recording, when in doubt, go back to this sheet, please.
Yes, check that out.
All right, so I am giving instruction now. Let me see if it'll let me do closed captioning. I'll hit some of that stuff real quick. So if I could turn on closed captioning, you would need to show your students how to use closed captioning on their end. So it's starting to populate down at the bottom now. But even though I have them turned on for me, and if actually, Jim, tell me a quick little story so we can see the dialog boxes pop up.
I can tell you a quick little story. So even though we're seeing those closed captions on Kyle's end with me talking, Kyle's the only person that actually sees those in the Meet. So if I wanted to see closed captions on my Meet, I would have to turn those on mine. And that goes for every student. If you have 30 students in the class, the ones that want closed captioning would have to hit that button on their device. The teacher cannot activate that for them. If the teacher hits closed caption, that's only for the teacher. The great thing is it does show every speaker. And then another little bit of a downfall is currently it's been implemented, and of course it's from Google, who has great language translations. It only goes to English right now.
It only goes to English, and additionally, as of last year, when you record the Meet, it does not record the closed captioning.
Correct.
So here's here's something you could do. Since we have unlimited Screencastify Premium now, you could, as the teacher, you could Screencastify your Meet, pin only yourself with the closed captioning up, and then you could share that recording to your class if you needed to securely in the Google Classroom. That would get you closed captioning for those that may need it. So there's closed captioning. Tell the kiddos to turn it on for themselves during live instruction. If you want to record it, you could do Screencastify, pin yourself. You would get all of the closed captions. That would be good. And something now that I would like to show you, we have a lot of concerns and questions usually about how are we going to make sure that the students are not in there without our supervision? How do we know it's secure when we close it? So let's go over that real quick. So if you want to make sure that the students cannot join the meeting after you have left, you've got this option as well. So I, as a teacher account, can go in, drop the box down, and I can remove them from the meeting with this button right here. So what you have to do to make sure that they can't rejoin is make sure the room is clear first. If I leave right now and leave the students in there, the students will be able to stay in the room. So the act of me leaving the room and Jim leaving the room, even if all teachers are gone, if you have not first made sure that the room is clear, those students will be left alone in there. So it's imperative that you shut down the room completely. It's no different than we had somebody, related last year to leaving the classroom and leaving your kids alone in the classroom, right? You make sure the classroom's clear first, then you close your door and you go to lunch or whatever. So same thing. And in order to do that, if for some reason they've stepped away or you can't get them to hop off for you so that you can conclude the session, you can remove that participant from the meeting this way. And you really can do that at any point if you needed to. But you hit that button right there and it'll take them out. And then on the student end, let me see if my computer will hold up full enough to demo this for you. On the student side, here we go. Okay, it says someone has removed you from the meeting. So this is what the students will see right here. All right. So if I want to return to the home screen, now I can rejoin as that student if I want to, as long as the meeting is open, and I'll show you that. So I'll do my Meet, NTI2. So I can get right back in, no problem. But let me show you what happens if we close the meet completely and then try to get back in as a student. That's the key here. So I'm going to join now. I'm back in as the student. And Jim, sorry, Jim, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I'm sorry, Kyle. Go ahead.
You're good. So let's say I'm like, all right, Jim and I decided we're going to conclude the session. So everybody leave, and there's just one student that for some reason isn't around. Okay, well, I'm going to make sure that they've left. Okay, so remove them. And then I don't think I can remove. Yes, I can. Jim, I'm going to remove you from the meeting as well. Okay.
Oh, all right.
So I'm removing Jim, and then I'm also going to hop out of the call, and then I'll show you what it looks like when the student tries to get back in at that time. So I've hung up. It says you've left the meeting. Now I'm going to go back as the student, okay? And it says someone has removed you, and I'm going to try to rejoin this now. I go, well, I walked away as the student. I thought, well, maybe they're still giving instruction. I need to hop back in. I don't want to miss this. I had to get some popcorn or something. So got to. So whenever I try to actually join, it says this meeting has already ended. Okay, so that's key. However, if a teacher account or any of the students for that matter had been left in there after we left, they would be able to get back in as they pleased. So you got to make sure.
And I tried to get back in, and as a teacher, it let me even after he got that message as a student, which would then basically be me coming back in after lunch and opening the door to that classroom. Students would then be able to get back in.
Correct. And that's a great distinction. As a matter of fact, since you joined first now, Jim, you may have those. You probably will have those controls. Let me go back to my sheet with you guys real quick and make sure that we touched what we needed to touch, and then we'll kind of check that chat out and make sure we don't have any burning questions. So again, Google Meet, you can join a session the way that I showed you and create your own unique Meet link. You can do that inside of Google Classroom, which Russ and Jack talked about earlier. It'll be unique.
And with beginning and ending a session, we were talking about that, and somebody had asked, do I have to remove every student manually? In theory, as long as you're telling your class it's over, most kids are going to leave, most students are going to leave your classroom. If you do have a couple scholars that are left with a blank screen, then yeah, you will have to remove them manually just to be sure you can close your door safely.
Right. We've talked about muting a participant. Also, it's good to wait about a minute just to be safe after everyone has cleared the room, but you as the teacher, wait about a minute, then you leave the room just to be sure that all the stuff has had time to sync up through the interwebs and make sure that room is good and closed. We talked about muting and removing. We talked about recording. Again, when in doubt, please reference this document. We talked about closed captioning. We didn't really touch on grid view yet. Let's go back to that real quick. So, Jim, can you hop back in that NTI 2.0 meeting with me? We've got that, and then we've got, if you're a guest, how to join.
Give me 1 second. Somebody else had a question you may be able to answer while I'm waiting to join here. And They asked if they create a recurring Google Meet on Google Calendar, will students be able to join that when they're not there?
Those same rules apply, okay? So the teacher account for JCPS must first be, a teacher account must first be in the room before the students will be allowed to join it. So that's still applicable. And let me see now if I can get it. I feel like that movie Inception a little bit right now with all the different windows and tabs I have open. Okay, return to the home screen. Okay, so now I'm going to get back in as this student because, again, we wanted to look at that view, that grid view. Okay. And then one last thing, we've had questions in the past about if I wanted to have a presenter join, and last year we were having to jump through a few hoops to get them to where they could be included. But it looks like there has been an update that we will go over so that you can have control over accepting that as the teacher account in the room. So We are now in the room, and you actually can change your view this year. They've added this. This is the change layout button. Okay, so you've got the snowman in the bottom right-hand corner, and then you've got change layout just under that record button if you are a teacher account. And I can go and I can choose auto, where it will bounce around between the speaker. We've got tiled, which is up right now, which is like that grid view. You've got sidebar, which puts the faces. See, so if there were multiple participants in the room, they'd all be lined up on the right. And then the main one. So, get in here, play with this, see which one, works best for you. And know that feature is available to you. So let's look at now, if I, for example, want to have a guest reader, maybe an author for an elementary school session, or a business partner for our career and technical folks in high school that wants to address a CTE group, maybe one of our ESL groups wants to talk to somebody, something of that nature. So here's what we can do now. What you can do now is, if you share the link to the Meet, remember at the beginning it gave me an option to copy that link down, and I share it with an outside participant. I'm going to try to join now from this account, and it says ready to join, and then the differentiation as it says ask to join. So if I'm outside of the JCPS domain, it's telling me I've got to ask for permission to join this Meet that I have had a link shared with me. So yes, I'm going to ask to join. And then when I've asked to join, see what happens? Now it's saying to me, as the teacher account, Jim, do you see this pop up as well, or is it just me?
Sorry, I'm muted, man. Yeah, we see it, absolutely. I will say another thing. I try to, in case, somebody lets out your code, I tried to Meetnti 2.
It won't work, yeah.
And it does not work. It says meeting not found.
You have to have the secure link, correct, which is, you're right. The only way the code works is if you're on our domain. That's a good point.
Outstanding.
So it's, it's pretty secure, but again, you're the last line of defense if you're that teacher account in there. So, pay attention. If it's the guest you invited, go ahead. But you can deny them or you can admit them. So.
But they can only do it with a link, not with the code.
Correct. Only the link. Yep. So I'll admit. And then there you go. And it's like, hey, and it also keeps reminding me this person is outside of Jefferson County Public Schools. So, I've got multiple participants here in this meeting. So, Russ, Jim, any other burning questions that you guys can see in the chat that we can hit in the last few minutes?
I was trying to watch as we were going, and I picked up a couple. And we've got, obviously, our great teammates are in the chat just hammering the questions out. They're doing a great job.
And I think that we have hit all of the controls, beginning and ending a session.
So Megan asks, what view will my kids need to select to see me and not each other? My kids couldn't always see me if I was demonstrating.
So you can, Megan, you can have your kiddos click the pin feature. So it sounds to me like some of them are defaulting to auto or to spotlight, which is where it will follow around the speaker. Obviously, if the kids are kind of making some noise in the background, instead of playing whack-a-mole and muting them all, you might instruct them, hey kids, make sure you pay attention to this. And if they click on the people up here in the top first, and then they choose the pin icon. Okay, so as soon as I click on him now, there you go. That's pinning. So now I have pinned Jim. So when you see that grayed out with the little push pin now, so if Jim was the teacher and I'm the student, that's how I would navigate to make sure I only see this teacher reading me a story or giving me instruction, whatever it is.
So whether I'm talking or not, it's going to show me. Now you can't force the pin out to the students, which would be an interesting take also.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be neat. But right now they would have to know how to do that on their own. That's correct.
Yeah.
Another cool feature, by the way, is the chat. We hardly ever touch on that, but it's huge. It's a great back channel. You can instruct the kids to raise their hand, which Rebecca will introduce some new features coming down the pipe with that option, not in the chat. But if they want to talk to you and you don't want them to interrupt or unmute, you could use the chat feature, which is also key. You could post links in the chat.
And things like that.
Yeah. So,
while you talk.
Not only is it, robust, but it's secure, and that's key. So But we are going to do this session again next Tuesday. And so if there are updates or anything to watch for, we'll be sure to add that as well. And any questions you guys have, feel free to reach out. I'm kyle.chandler@jefferson.kyschools.us. You can find me on Twitter at Chan the Man. Jim's on there. We're all available and here to help. So if you got anything else, let us know.
Alrighty. Okay, so thank you guys for that presentation today. Let's take a look at our schedule coming up after lunch. Starting back at 12:30, we've got Screencastify for asynchronous learning. So that's for, asynchronous, we talked about before we started today, means different times. You could have one student viewing this at 9 a.m. and another student viewing Screencastify at 4 p.m., learning at different times. So Screencastify is a very useful tool for that. And remember, as a JCPS teacher, you have a full license to Screencastify now. So very exciting for this NTI 2.0. And then after that, at 1 o'clock, we got Jamboard with Elaine Abernathy and Matt Bolka. We've got Read and Write at 1:30 to, looks like an hour session there with Kathleen Receiver and Rebecca Reynolds. Then at 2:30, we've got Heather Worrell talking about the NTI 2.0 portal. And then we've got a 3 o'clock session with Sarah Brock, who's a kindergarten teacher at St. Matthews Elementary, and Katie Wolf, who's a resource teacher at Klondike Lane Elementary. They're going to be talking about how they use Jamboard in their with their students in their classrooms. So excellent. And then there's that session that was alluded to many times during Kyle and Jim's session, Breakout Rooms in Google Meet. So something that's new for this year, Breakout Rooms in Google Meet. Rebecca Reynolds will be talking about those. So thank you guys for joining us this morning, and we will see you back here at 12:30.